Okay, concept of God as good then. Now, similar to the concept of God as creator, you can include everything. So everything we've just written, God as creator, can be included in that. Now when I say everything, obviously you're not going to change the question. But obviously, creation is a good act. So that's the first Bible passages that we're going to be talking about, Genesis. Now the other main passage that you should be using for God as good is from Exodus chapter 20. And Exodus chapter 20 illustrates the main issue with the God as good, because it means two different things. Two different things means is this: is God goodness itself, or simply God is good through his action? Now the idea of God as goodness itself is the idea that he's the source of goodness. And that's what Exodus chapter 20 is supposedly showing. Whereas the Genesis is the idea that he does good things. Exodus chapter 20 is obviously the Ten Commandments. And the idea is that by providing a moral code, God reveals his true nature. He is goodness, and you can see how we can compare this with obviously the Platonic idea of form of the good. Because the Ten Commandments are good because they come from God. And this is called the Euthyro dilemma. Now, I am well aware, camera, that I've spelt Euthyro wrong. But I can't exactly remember how. Has anyone got the notes there?
It's like there's a Y in there somewhere.
I know there's a Y, I think there's a T in there as well.
T and a H.
I've definitely got a P in there.
There isn't it like TH?
Doesn't matter, camera's rolling. You now look up how to spell
It's
it.
E-U-T-H.
E-U-T-H.
Y.
Y.
H-R-O.
P-H-R-O.
Yeah.
The Euthyro dilemma. And the Euthyro dilemma is this. Can, is God good because, oh no, let's get the Euthyro dilemma right, while we're on camera. Does God command good things, or is something good because God commands it? Now this is the main evaluation question, but it also highlights the two different areas for the concept of God as good. Because if God simply commands things which are good, then that means, is he omnipotent? And if, effectively, anything that comes from God, then this affects our idea of logic. So, for instance, can God decide rape is right? So with the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness. Those three commandments are ethical commandments. We could see how, in a society, a fledgling society, they would make those rules. But fundamentally, the idea of the goodness of God is that anything that comes from God is good. Therefore, if he did say, and you shall rape, then would that be good? Would it affect the moral fabric? And if it doesn't, like most people believe, if simply God commands things which are good, then does that mean that there is something outside of God's control, something that pre-exists him? Or some things that God can't do, i.e. change logic, change the ethics. So two elements of God is good. God is good because of the Ten Commandments. He's a source of goodness. God is good because he does good things like the Ten Commandments. And lastly, God is good because of salvation and Jesus. So the idea of him coming to earth. Again, through the reward. Also with the idea of the creation, not only is a good act, but he creates a perfect, good world. And that is the concept of God as good. Okay, any questions?
The bit about salvation bit.
So he's good because he's provided an afterlife, a reward. Through Christ, through his own sacrifice, he came down to earth so we could be saved. This is another good act, isn't it?
Oh.
And not only just linked in with that, you also need to talk about salvation history, Mainly a Jewish idea, but that he is good because he is involved, he's intervening, and we've got, obviously, the Exodus from Egypt, but also other events where they believe that God has helped and God has intervened. And linked to that, we've obviously also got the idea of miracles.
What about compassion?
Compassion.
Yeah.
What about compassion?
Um,
So he's good because of his loving act. I mean, the
What's
salvation of Jesus obviously is the compassion of God.
what's that quote? Something about, oh, he gave his only son.
Yeah, which is obviously the...
What was that Jewish salvation?
So the salvation history is Jewish people look back to their history and believe that God has intervened. That God is good because he's taken an interest in his creation. So Exodus, he saved them from slaves in Egypt. You know, he rescued them. And then there are lots of other events where they believe that God rewards. But the salvation history also works where God punishes. So just when you're naughty, you get punished by your parents. The idea is that the Jews believe they get punished by God when they're naughty. Okay, and that really is it for God is good.